Good afternoon and welcome to the last Meatless Monday of this 6-week block. I actually cannot believe it. These 6-week blocks just get faster and faster and faster every time. But it's super exciting because it means that we can start planning the next Meatless Monday, which will be happening in winter at some point. I'm not 100% certain just yet. So, as always, let me know when you pop on, say hello. Let me know if you're cooking or if you're just here to watch, learn about the recipes and give it a go another day, or you're just here to say hello. Either way, I'm stoked that you're here. Thank you so much for joining in. I love Meatless Monday. Like, I think it is such a cool way for people to be able to start their journey, or even just begin to understand new concepts around the kitchen, or even just be like have fun in the kitchen again and get excited. So it is definitely a major passion project of mine, of just getting people in the kitchen, because it can be fun and exciting and rather than scary or overwhelming. We have our Meatless Monday community event or showcase next Monday, which is our first live event for Balance Me, and it is so exciting. We have some amazing local businesses behind this event that have come together to collaborate and just show Wanaka or Queensland Lakes what it's all about, to have local businesses, how to support them, and also just to showcase the talent that is in this town. Like, we are so lucky, and I hope that if you are coming to this event, there are still a few tickets left, that you walk away feeling so inspired to start making change, whether that is to support Honest Whole Food Co and do one waste-free shop a month, or whether you do Meatless Monday every Monday, or there are other things that you can do to create change. So whatever that is for you and how you do it on your journey, we would love. I just can't wait to talk to you about it, and everyone has different paths, so I'm very excited to see how everyone gets there. So we'll wait 2 more minutes before we start cooking. I can see people are on, but I can't see who you are or if you're cooking or watching. So just say hello, let me know who you are and if you're cooking or just watching, and thank you for being here. So I'm just going to quickly get my chopping board. I'll get a knife. I'm going to get a pot out because we're going to cook some rice. Cool, so I can see more people popping on, which is awesome. Once again, I can't actually see who you are, or if you're cooking or if you're not cooking, so I would love for you to comment, say hello, let me know if you're cooking, or if you're here just to ask questions, shoot fire away. I do my best to keep looking at the screen to make sure I'm not missing any questions. Other than that, we will start cooking in just 1 more minute. If you have your pot ready, and then you can also get your big fry pan ready that you're going to be making your stir fry in. This it is a stir fry, so it's actually also awesome to make this in a stir fry pan, like a wok, is also really good options. But yeah, so it's 5:35, so let's start cooking. So the first thing we're going to do is get our rice ready. So for your rice, a good rule of thumb is 1/4 cup of rice uncooked is one serving. If you're feeding like children, obviously less. I would do 1/4 cup per 2 children. But yeah, so that's like a really easy way. So if you're feeding 4 people, then you want to have 1 cup of rice. So even though we buy organic, rice, there is always some processing. I call it dust. Hey, just watching. Oh, hi Amanda. Thank you for joining in. You're just watching tonight. Let us know if you have any questions. So even though we buy organic rice from Honest Whole Food Co, we like to wash our rice because basically any grain or legume or anything along that way goes through a factory, and there's lots of processing dust and random bits and pieces. So what we like to do, even there, just from putting that, I wonder if you'll be able to see this on the chopping board. No, but there's lots of see all this, like, that's just from the rice. And so what we like to do is we like to go and run that underwater, run our hands through it and get it nice and washed up. So I'm just going to head over to the sink and do that now. Always use cold water as well. And it doesn't have to be a lot, but just enough just to get it nice and rinsed. I'm then going to shake out the excess water. And then I'm going to go put that into my pan, into my pot. Because we're cooking with brown rice, it's a firmer rice. So we're going to be putting 2.5 cups of cold water in there. So 1, 2, and a half. If you're using white rice or a very, I want to say a soft grain, then you should definitely just do 1-for-1 ratio. So what we're going to do is I do the absorption method when I'm cooking my rice. So I'm going to put it onto the highest heat it can, and then I'm going to let it do its thing with the high heat. Once it's boiling, I'm going to slowly turn it down so it remains on a simmer. And then once the water has disappeared and evaporated or absorbed into the rice, that's when I turn the element off and put a lid on, and the steam will fluff up the rice. So that is what I do for the first step. So rice is on, key. Because it's brown rice, it does take a little bit of time. So you want to make sure that that's your first step. The next thing we're going to be doing is combining all of our marinade ingredients. So get a Tupperware if I have any. This will do. No, it won't. If you don't have a Tupperware, use a bowl, which is what I'm going to have to do because I don't have Tupperware, they're all at work. And we're going to put all our marinade ingredients in here. So I'm going to get 1 cup of water for our vegetable stock. One cup of water, and I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of vegetable stock in there, and that's my vegetable stock. And this is another way that you can create awesome waste-free changes in your life, is by using, I'm just going to put that all in there, by using powder rather than a liquid. Cool, and I'm going to stir that up, and then bada bing, bada boom. Here, I should put this down actually, but bada bing, bada boom, you have vegetable stock. How good is that? Cool, the next thing we're going to use is 2 oranges. Give them a nice roll. If you have a juicer, use a juicer. I'm just going to hand squeeze. And the more flavour you get out of that orange, the better. Even if some of the orange pip goes in there, it's just a flavour addition. And do that for each half. Hi from Amy Beans and I. Hi! Cool, there's more people joining on. So Meg, let me know if you're a bit behind, but basically all we've done is we've put on the rice, and now we're just making our marinade, which is just the 1 cup of vegetable stock. Then I'm at the 2 oranges, so you haven't missed much at all. My orange is very disappointingly not that juicy, but it's okay, we'll make do. Let me know if you have any questions. Cool. Oopsies. Okay. 1/3 of a cup of rice wine vinegar. Yeah, let me know if there's any questions, but I'll just keep working through. A 1/4 cup of tamari. Hi Olivia, hope Liz is following closely as we'll be eating soon. Looking forward to it. Aw, hi Marie, that's awesome. I'm sure she'll be able to keep up. She's a bit of a whiz in the kitchen. Cool. 1/4 cup of tamari. 2 cloves of ginger. So I've got my ginger from the garden, so I'm going to be using this. And we're going to mince it. If you have pre-minced garlic, that's awesome. So remember, for mincing, the first thing you do is put your knife over it. That one's not a very good one. I might... Cool. And then remember, put your knife over it and smash it. Once it's smashed, then you just run your knife through it, making sure that your fingers are tucked away. And then just keep running your knife through it. This part does feel like it's taking ages. You're like, how am I going to mince this myself? But you always get there in the end. And then once it's down into smaller pieces, what you can do is get your knife over it and just pressure down, starting at a 45-degree angle, and then flattening your knife over it. So it's kind of like a swaying motion, if that makes sense. Let me know if that doesn't make sense to you, and I'll think of another way to explain it. But you start with your knife on an angle, and then you flatten it to put the pressure on the garlic. Cool. Add that to your marinade. 1 cube of ginger. Now, I realized literally 3 minutes ago that I don't have any ginger. So that is really, really sad. I'm actually very disappointed. But what you can do if you have ginger is you can use a tiny little grater like this. Or you can do the exact same thing with the garlic. However, you won't be able to mince it as well because it is a lot harsher than garlic. So you can grate it. You can use one of the zesters or the graters, depending on what you call this. So there's lots of different options. Or you can just slice it. That totally works too. Get in there. Cool, my rice is boiling, so remember, once it's down to a boil, we reduce the heat and turn it to a simmer. So we want to make sure that it's always on a simmer. So then we've got maple syrup or honey. I'm using honey today from my partner's mum's hive. So it's 1/4 cup. So as you can tell already that this is going to be quite a sweet marinade, but that's the idea of orange chicken. And the beauty with these natural sugars is that this is how you get that really sticky sweet. You know how you go to Chinese stores and for the takeaways they have those really like sweet and sour chicken or sweet and sour pork. You know, that is like there's something about that is just so delicious. So that is why we're putting in these natural sweeteners to get that same idea. Cool, and then we're not going to put the tapioca starch in. So then add your protein. So if you if you wanted to use chickpeas, drain and rinse your can of chickpeas and then put it in your marinade. If you're using, what was the other options? Soy curds, you just have to open them up, break them up, put them in there. If you're using tofu, get your tofu out, slice it into little bits, pat it dry and put it in there. If you're using sun-fed chicken, then put it in there. So I'm going to do a bit of tofu and a bit of sun-fed chicken just because I wanted to show you both cooking methods while doing this. So I'm just going to open up my tofu block. And then I'm going to bring that over to my board. And I'm just going to cut it into into, I guess, rectangles. And then flip it around and into cubes. And then what I'm going to do is get a paper towel, place it on the paper towel, and pat them dry. And that just gets off any residue liquid. The liquid isn't harmful or anything. It just, the more liquid you get out of it, you can change tofu's texture so drastically, essentially, just by changing how it's processed. So if you put it in the freezer, it makes the water expand and it makes the tofu quite, I mean, my description of it is bulk and chewy. And so people think that that's how you get like a really good meaty texture. So essentially there's so many amazing ways to be able to change the texture of things to make them suitable to your taste buds. So what I'm going to do, and you don't have to do this, it's only because I'm going to show you two different ways, is I'm going to pour some of my marinade into another bowl, about half, yep. And then I'm going to get my sun-fed chicken-free chicken out. And I will tell you, it says that it's 3 servings per packet. However, I find that this goes really far, so per 100 grams in protein in this is 36 grams of protein. So, and this whole thing is 103 grams of, 112 grams of protein. Well, that's bad maths, but it's something, 118, I don't know. And that's a lot of protein. You don't need that much. So, what some people find when they eat this and they eat it to like the dietary recommendation is that they start getting a bit of a sore tummy, and they think it's because it's the plant protein. And actually, it's because it's just so much protein in your tummy and your digestive system, I should say. It's just like, what is going on? So, I definitely, oh, it's frozen, would recommend, you don't, like, I would almost say it's 6 servings per pack. And it's awesome that there's a plant protein option that, like, is this and has so much protein in it, because, say, for, like, vegan bodybuilders and things, like, it is great. But for your average Joe, you definitely don't need that much. So I'm just going to do about, I wouldn't even say it's half the packet. I did probably a third of the packet. And I'm going to put that in my marinade. And I'm going to put this back in the freezer. And then for my tofu, I'm going to put that into my other marinade. Now, another awesome way to do this is to place, make your tofu, like the crispy tofu that we made for the Thai coconut soup. Cook it in the oven and then cook in the oven and add it to your stir fry later, and then you can have the crispy tofu on the outside, like the extra crispy tofu on the outside, and then this really sticky yummy sauce. But that was just another step for tonight, so that's like another way that you can do it another day. Or if you're watching and you want to do it that way tonight, go wild. Right, so we're going to leave that marinating for 15 minutes. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to slice up our broccoli, capsicum, carrot, and more garlic. And we're going to add this, saute this in a pan. So I'm going to do my capsicum first. It's definitely not in order of how I've written it, but you always do the things that you'd want to stir fry first. So capsicum first. And I'm just gonna roughly slice this. It's a stir fry. It's the beauty of stir fries is that you can just make them really quickly and just put them in the pan. Cool, and I'm gonna turn my pan on. I'm gonna put some sesame oil in there. So I've got to open this one. So you can make this oil free if you want to. Just don't put any oil in the pan and just use a lower heat. If your rice is boiling like mine, turn it down even more. While I'm waiting for my pan to heat up, I'm going to peel my carrots. And there's many ways that you can do this in a stir fry. We've talked about this a lot on Meatless Monday. I love to julienne my carrots. I think it looks really pretty, and I think they cook really well, and they're really awesome for eating. Like, you don't get that really hard undercooked carrot, for example, which I find some people struggle with. I don't like to grate it because it's really funny, because I've tested this theory a few times, but I don't think that the actual thickness of the carrot, once you've julienned it or once you've grated it on a grater, is different. But I definitely think it changes the, like, it's just thinner, so it doesn't keep its shape or mold as much, and it just, I don't know how to describe this, but I don't like grating things and putting these into a salad. Things that are grated should not be heated because they change contrast and textures too much. So I don't have my julienne peeler today, so I'm just going to slice my carrots really thinly. And then I'm just going to make them into little cubes. I can smell my sesame oil is heating up, so I'm going to put my capsicum and carrot into there. Cool, I've got grips on my rice now. It was going a bit wild for a second there. Cool, and then I'm going to add that to my pan. Once that's going, I'm going to get a spatula. I'm just going to toss it around a bit. I'm going to leave that to cook, and then we want half a broccoli. So I'm just going to cut my broccoli down in half, and it's awesome to be able to do it this way because you don't have lots of random broccoli florets floating around the fridge if you're going to cut your broccoli in half. I'm going to take off the the leaves. They're fine to eat, but some people just don't like them. And then I'm actually going to cut the 2 pieces of broccoli off here. And that's how you can still use your trunk and serve your trunk, if that's how you like to do it. And if people find that the texture of broccoli changes too much when it's being stir fried, this is an awesome way to maintain its shape and texture. Or, if you wanted to, you can just have little florets. It's entirely up to you and what you want to do. But if I was you, then I would just dice up the stems. It's entirely up to you how you do it, or you can leave the stems out entirely. Whatever your family or you are feeling today. Be aware that if you do leave the stems on and you leave them whole, then they will take that little bit longer to cook, just because they are denser. They're dense like carrots. If you were to eat one raw, which you totally can do, they take the same amount of time to cook in a stir fry as a carrot would take. So if you're going to dice them up now, then add them to your stir fry. We like to use as much of the vegetable as we can. We definitely don't like to waste anything. And every part of the vegetable has such different textures and flavors. Like the leaves of beetroot are incredible, and they're bitter, and so they're a really awesome source of iron, and they and really good for detoxifying. And people just waste them all the time, which is, that's fine. If that's what people do, that's what people do. But it's the knowledge, like the little things like that. A lot of people don't realize that they can eat the leaves of beetroot. So it's little things like that that we try to give you those snippets so that you can actually say, oh, I could do that. Oh, I'll try that. And if you don't like it the first time, then that's okay. You can try it again another way. There's lots of different ways to prepare these things. So give your marinating protein, whatever you chose it to be, a stir. And you're probably thinking, Olivia, this marinade is so runny. That's okay. We're going to add tapioca starch to it soon, which will thicken it up. The reason why I asked you to do it in a Tupperware container is because when you put it into a Tupperware container, you can put your tapioca starch in it and give it a really good shake. And that's a good way to be able to get out all of the lumps so you don't have any flour balls. But if you just have a whisk, then that's absolutely fine. So we're just going to leave this to simmer now. Let it get nice and hot. Some people also like to have their stir fries and have crunchy carrots in it, and that's totally fine. It's entirely up to you. I forgot the garlic, so I'm going to do my garlic. So I'm going to do the same thing again. And if I was organized, what I should have done was put 4 cloves of garlic onto my board and mince them at the same time and put half into the marinade and half into my stir fry. But I definitely wasn't. We've done a lot of cooking today. We've done the Sunday meals because it's a long weekend in Wanaka, and we've done, I went to a client's house and we've cooked there, and then I came home and now I'm cooking here, and then after this I'm going to do the Cromwell and Queenstown deliveries. So it's been a long day, so I apologise if some of my things aren't making sense, but if you have any questions, then please reach out and feel free to comment away. The reason why I would have done the 4 cloves of garlics at one time rather than 2 separately is just because when you're doing a task, if you can multiply it, it's going to take you a quarter of the time rather than doing that single task 3 or 4 times, and each taking the same amount of time. So a little bit of productivity there for you. So I'm going to add my garlic to my stir fry. And you're probably wondering why I didn't put salt or pepper into my marinade. This is my personal opinion, but I find that tamari and with like using the rice wine vinegar, it's already salty enough. So that's entirely up to you if you wanted to add more salt and pepper later. But for just the marinade for now, I like to simply have the flavors in there and then add that salt and pepper later. Cool. Now, if you're making tofu, I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. So I'm going to get a separate pan. So that you can still have some delicious crispy tofu. This is only for the people doing tofu. If you're doing chickpeas or soy curds, you could do this, but it's up to you. So if you didn't want to add dishes to your lot, then what you could do is you could just push the stir fry to the side once it's ready and add your tofu in there. Because I'm letting my stir fry cook away, what I'm going to do is turn this pan on, put a bit of sesame oil in there. If you it could be also oil free if you want to, and then in the recipe it calls for a slotted spoon, so like one of these, a slotted spoon, or you can use tongs. I'm going to use tongs, And I'm just going to get my tofu and place it in the fry pan. And you should already smell that sauce coming through. Delicious. And try to bounce off as much liquid as you can, because that is the liquid that is liquid gold for later on. And what you want to do to be able to get things crispy is you want to actually leave some space in between your tofu bites and the pan. Because I'm just going to try and get all of my tofu into the pan, I'm being a hypocrite here. I'm going to add it to the pan. Let that get hot, and I'm just going to have to do a bit of maneuvering later. Cool. I should check. No questions? Remember to shout out if you need any questions. Oops, I'm putting... Don't mind me, I'm just putting ingredients everywhere. Cool. And you'll see that there's a gloss on your peppers and carrots, and that's the water coming out of your peppers and carrots, and that's what gives it that really nice natural shine. Now my water for my rice is starting to run out, so I'm not going to do it just yet because there's still quite a bit of water in there. But this is where you should check it, because if it's still really hard and you're running out of water, you should add, you've obviously boiled it too quickly. So like when it started to boil, you didn't turn it down to a simmer quick enough, and so your water will be evaporating faster than it's actually absorbing into the rice. So if you're trying your rice now and it's still really crunchy and you haven't got much water left in there, then definitely add some more water. But this is where the absorption method, you have to be a bit, you kind of have to be, as soon as it starts to boil, reduce to a simmer. As soon as that simmer starts to boil, reduce the heat even more and more and more. And then I'll show you when we put the lid on, but you don't put the lid on until you can't see any water bubbling through. So at the moment there's lots of bubbles in my rice, and that's the water evaporating or like absorbing into the rice. And so we won't put the lid on and turn the heat off until we can't see any water. Cool, so we've got broccoli, carrots, capsicum in here. We've got our tofu going in the other pan. We need to add our green beans. One cup of green beans. That was the leftover green beans from last week, so that was perfect. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my 1 tablespoon of tapioca starch into here. Because I've halved my mixture, I'm just going to put half a tablespoon, and then I'm going to put my other half tablespoon into the other one. Because I'm doing it in a bowl, I'm going to use a whisk. But just make sure that you add your, if you're doing it like me with a whisk, make sure that you add it really slowly into your thing so you don't get any bubbles. So I just need to get a spoon. So half a tablespoon. I'm doing it with my wrong hand, hold on. And so I'm just going to, it's kind of like how we made the roll up last week, is that we really quietly put it in there, just so that you don't end up with any lumps. No one likes flour lumps. And you'll see it change colour because of the tapioca starch as well. So I'm going to turn down my rice even more, and I can't see any bubbles coming through there. There's still a little bit of water left. I'll give it a couple more minutes. Now, this is starting to look really, really good. If you're using sun-fed chicken, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to push all those veggies up the side, so they've still got heat coming through. I'm going to use my slotted spoon, and I'm going to put this into the pan. And be aware that sunfed chicken can overcook really quickly, so you want to make sure that your pan is on medium heat. Save as much liquid as you can, and we're just going to quickly sear it off. And then I'm going to go back through and I'm going to actually put this in here. And I'm going to add my other half a tablespoon. And this is our thickening agent, so that we get a really, oopsies, so we get a really beautiful marinade for later on. Keep whisking until you get rid of all of that tapioca starch. Now my rice is ready, so I'm going to turn it off the heat, and I'm going to put the pot lid on, and I'm just going to leave that there. I'm going to flip my tofu. And now I'm regretting I should have listened to my advice and made sure there was enough room in the pan, because it's not going to get as crispy as I want it to get, but I will learn, won't I? Give your sunfed chicken a quick stir, and you'll see what happens to the sunfed chicken is that it turns into shredded chicken. And in terms of I guess a meat replacement, I do think it is one of the best ones on the market. But one, because it does have that really high protein, and two, for taste and texture, I think it is the closest to replicating shredded chicken. However, I will be the first to say that the price is very high. That pack of chicken is $12.99 at my local grocery store, and however, if you were to get it into 6 portions, like 6 protein portions, then it turns out to be the same. It turns out to be the same portion as a same price point as tofu, because tofu you get like $4 for 300 gram for 3 protein portions, so it's like $8. Whereas sunfed is $12 for 6 portions. So it's entirely kind of at your budget and what you need. And you know, you might find that you're feeling lethargic throughout the day and that you need that extra little bit of protein, or you might find that you feel it's a bit too much. And just listen to your body. That's the beautiful thing of eating plant-based, is that you just have to listen to your body. Eating in any way. When you're eating in any way, you should listen to your body so that you know what it's trying to tell you. And if you just say, oh, I'm bloated, okay, but why? Like, start tracking your bloating. Is it happening just in the morning? Is it happening just at night? Is it happening at lunchtime? Okay, what are you eating at these meals? There's so many different things that you can investigate. Be your first carer. Advocate for yourself if you're finding that you're having problems, or that you want to know how to fix something. The first thing to do is to figure that out. Cool. So dive deeper into your symptoms and to figure out the cause instead of just treating the symptoms. Cool. So my sunfed chicken is really nice and browned. So I'm going to mix that into my stir fry, and obviously because I'm only using half the portion, it's going to look quite minimal, but I've got the tofu here as well, so it's alright. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to, because I'm doing the 2 portions, if you're just doing the recipe, pour your marinade into your stir fry. I'm only putting some with my tofu just because I'm doing it to show you, and give that a really good mix up. Now you want to let that come to a simmer. And you'll see that the more that you move the sunfed chicken around, the more it turns into shredded chicken. So if you like your sunfed chicken in really big pieces, like how we serve it with your weekly meals in the ginger teriyaki stir fry, then what we do is we put it into a big pan, sear it off, and then we take it out and then we add it to the mixture later so that it's not getting constantly moved around in a pan. Cool, so you can see here already how with my tofu it's getting nice and sticky and it's becoming glazed like. And we did that without any refined sugars. This is all natural sugars in here. So it goes to show, to get that beautiful sticky orange chicken or sweet and sour chicken or sweet and sour tofu or whatever you want to make, you don't have to use artificial sweeteners. You can use the natural sweeteners that we have. Cool. And then you'll see on my stir fry now it's starting to bubble away, which is awesome. So I'm going to let that bubble away. It's obviously going to take a little bit longer in this pan just because there's a lot more in the pan. And dinner is nearly served for the last Meatless Monday, which is crazy. Cool. I'm actually going to remove that tofu from the heat. So that's how quick it is. And so if you just wanted to make like an appetizer for someone or something, this is awesome. Freeze your tofu the night before, cut it into bits, freeze your tofu, get the water to expand in there and stretch out the tofu to change its texture and taste, and then add all these flavors, marinate it. There are so many possibilities, and honestly, if you don't like tofu one way, I'm sure there's another way that you can make it that you could try. Look at this mess that I've made. Another great way is scrambled tofu. Scrambled tofu is another awesome option. Okay, so now I'm going to do a quick clean up because I've made an utter mess. And then I'm going to get my bowls out for serving. Now, this is where you can get kind of fancy. Only if you want to. You don't have to. But, I'm going to get my rice, which has been steaming away. And instead of just doing the typical half and half, like half rice, half stir fry, get a bit fancy. We're going to mold our rice into just a simple bowl. Push down. Can you see what I'm doing? Yep, push down. Upside down, give it a tap, and voila. You have a rice mold. Then, how am I going to do this so that I have a bit of everything? And then I'm going to get my slotted spoon. And I'm going to try and avoid the sun-fed chicken so that I can show you both ways of doing it. But it's not going to happen, but that's okay. Then I'm going to get half of my mixture. I like to be able to put the broccoli pieces on top because it shows real depth. I'm going to get my tongs next. I'm going to try to get the bits that are actually properly crisped up because and I'm going to place my tofu pieces go on, turn that off. crispy tofu pieces, yes please. Then I'm going to get my sesame seeds. And because I only have my white sesame seeds at home, they show a lot of contrast in the stir fry, but they don't show much contrast on the rice because it's the same color. So that's where an awesome thing to do is to have your black sesame seeds, or if you don't have any black sesame seeds, that's absolutely fine. You can use chili flakes. We didn't put any chili in this dish tonight because I find I probably over chili you guys a little bit, but I love chili, so I'm going to put some on there. Oh, and spring onions. How could I forget? So because I have got rid of my chopping board, I'm going to just really simply, if I can find them, use my scissors. So I'm going to chop off the end, and then I'm just going to, this is not, I do not recommend doing it this way, but just for quick and easy. And then voila! Look at that. The other way that you can do it, because we've got our sun-fed chicken, so I'm just going to get some more rice quickly. You could also do this on a plate like this. Would you like me to do that for you? I could do a plate as well. I'm going to get a more hooped bowl, and I'm going to get my sun-fed chicken, and I'm actually going to do the opposite. I'm then now going to put this around the outside. And it's funny because I actually got asked this last week. Do you plan your platings before you do Meatless Monday? No, I do not. I'm making this up on the spot just for fun, because some things in life just don't need to be planned. This one's definitely not looking as pretty. It's actually, I'm quite disappointed by this. But we move on. Sesame seeds, chili flakes, spring onions, and voila! Sun-fed chicken, tofu. Delish! Did you guys see that one? That's not that pretty, but it's okay, we're here. So that is the last Meatless Monday for this 6-week block. How insane is that? It just went so quick, and I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who joined in, who wanted to be here and learned, asked questions. It's so exciting to see you and help you create some change in your life. And remember, change doesn't have to be big drastic steps. They can just be really little small things here and there to create small change, because small changes equals big changes. And yeah, next week, this time exactly next week, we will be starting the cooking demonstration at the Meatless Monday Community Showcase, which is so exciting. We have some tickets left. I think we've sold half of the tickets, so there are some tickets left, and I really hope to see you there. Have a good week.